week on the Just Baseball Show, Monday, August 29th. Paul Goldschmidt might do the damn thing. I like that. That's what I feel like we have to lead with. Jack McMullen, Aram Leighton. This is going to be, a relatively rapid firing through the headlines of the weekend. But first and foremost, we might have our first Triple Crown winner in the National League since the mid-30s. Do I have that right?
Is that when it was? Because the only trivia I really knew, which was the funny part, is obviously Miguel Cabrera won it. And then it was always the first since Carl Yastrzemski. And that was all I really cared about. I was like, wow, Miguel Cabrera was the only person to do it since Carl Yastrzemski. And I never really looked past that. So the fact that Paul Goldschmidt is even having this conversation, or that we're having this conversation about Paul Goldschmidt in 2022. And if anybody starts talking about how they don't care about the specific stats that go into the Triple Crown, I will lose my mind. It is a staple. It is cool. It is awesome. And Paul Goldschmidt has just figured it out at 34. He's always been really, really good, but he's figured it out and taken it to another level, and it's unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, so the last Triple Crown winner in the National League was Joe Medwick with the St. Louis Cardinals in 1937. Since then, it was Miggy in 2012, Yastrzemski in 67, Frank Robinson in 66, Mickey Mantle in 56, and Ted Williams twice in 42 and 47. But before that, it was Joe Medwick with the St. Louis Cardinals in 1937. Batting average, home runs, RBIs. The importance of the home run has only been elevated.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think the run batted in and batting average are the two that are kind of being negated by the new baseball fan. And to that, I say, get your head out of the book.
Yeah.
Paul Goldschmidt's hitting 340. If you try and tell me that he's not the best hitter on the planet right now, I'm not going to hear your argument.
Well, that's the thing is he still is. I think the argument's more on who cares about the Triple Crown? It's obsolete. But at the same time, he's leading the triple slash line. So, on base percentage and slugging, or if you want to just combine it into OPS, which we all know is important. I don't know what WRC plus looks like, but I would venture to say if you made and again, I know I love all of these stats, and I base a lot of my, prospect rankings on advanced stats and things like that as well. But if we wanted to make a nerd Triple Crown, I think he'd take that one too. It's crazy. He really is dominating in every single way possible. There's really no hole in his game, and he's even deceptively quick. I just watched him beat out a ground ball in the infield. The guy can truck a little bit too. It's kind of funny watching him run. He runs a little weird, but yeah. He is just good at everything. And at 34 years old, he's just mastered this. Barely pick my foot up. It's almost like he just picks his heel up, yet incredible. He has this massive impact, massive power. His takes are easy as hell. There's no almost swings. He shuts it down the second it leaves the pitcher's hand. This guy just sees the ball like it's in slow motion compared to everybody else.
I think Paul Goldschmidt has spent the last dozen years of his life with his hand in two rice buckets and just turning them. The forearms on that dude are just ridiculous. And that allows him to take that minimal step. He looks like a lumberjack.
Yeah.
Does he not?
No, he does. He does. And it's crazy because you talk about that. The amount of whip and bat speed he generates without moving is why he's able to do almost nothing and maximize power. And that's how you repeat that. He can repeat all of his moves really easy, and it works. And Arenado also just looks phenomenal. I've really enjoyed all of the national TV. I feel like we got a lot of national TV Braves Cardinals series that just seem to be always on national TV, or I don't know. It just seemed like that to me. And I watched a lot of that series this week. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I hope we get a playoff series between those two, because those two teams match up really well. And I've just enjoyed the blow for blow that they've been able to go at.
It was nice to get a break from the Boston Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. The Red Sox were on constantly, dude. They were doing the Little League World or the Little League Classic last week. Before that, wasn't it Red Sox Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball? I think it was 3 out of the last 5 or something were Red Sox games.
I'm honestly glad to just not have the Yankees on there too. I like watching the Yankees, but I don't know. It's just
I like watching the other 29 teams too.
Yeah, it's been a fun change. Even the Dodgers, I watch so much of them now. They're always on. It was cool to see some of these other teams involved, because really I think the Cardinals and the Braves are right up there with anybody. And
Yeah.
just top to bottom, what I love about both of those teams is there's intrigue with almost every hitter in the lineup.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the Braves and watching the Braves is that literally almost 1 through 9, you're interested in almost every single guy that has to come up to the plate. It's either a youngster who is breaking out or a guy who mashes. And like the lull in the lineup is like Travis d'Arnaud. Like, I'm okay with that. And when you look at the Cardinals, it's pretty similar. The lull in the lineup is like Corey Dickerson, and he went 10 for 10. Maybe Lars Nootbaar, who's been leading off and going off. So
Right. Yeah.
there's really Yadi Molina, I guess, but anytime he does something, I'm happy. So there's really no lull in that Cardinals lineup either.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, what I think is slept on is the Cardinals have 2 of the top 4 guys in WRC plus in Major League Baseball right now, in Goldie and Arenado. So Paul Goldschmidt is a point clear of Aaron Judge for the lead in WRC plus. Paul Goldschmidt sporting a 194, Judge at 193. So that's 1 on the advanced Triple Crown. 2 on the advanced Triple Crown, weighted on base average. Paul Goldschmidt is 9 points clear of Aaron Judge. It's Goldie, Judge, Yordan Alvarez at 446. Now here's where they ding you. You got to go all the way down to 8th to find Paul Goldschmidt an expected weighted on base average.
Oh, screw that. I don't care about the expected.
No, he's done. He's not getting the MVP.
I don't care about the expected. By the end of the year, we're just calculating all. We can pick the advanced stats. We can go WRC plus. We can go, but anything with an X, screw that. I don't care.
You know who is 9th in X WOBA? Jose Abreu.
He's actually had a really good year. The rest of he's been swinging it lately. I was surprised looking at his numbers. I think it's a big reason why the White Sox are even still alive at this point.
They're not alive.
Now they're dead. We've called them dead.
Dude,
it was like dead. A week ago. You were talking about a week ago. You're like, oh yeah, they could sneak their way in the playoffs.
No, they're dead.
They're dead.
They're dead. As soon as Michael Kopech went on the IL, they're dead. They're 5 back. They're 2 games under 500.
Oh, they're 5 back now.
They're 5 back.
I didn't even realize.
Cleveland, they've lost 4 in a row. They're 5. They got swept by Arizona at home. Is that not the nail in the coffin?
I did see Arizona giving them the work, but I didn't realize that they swept them, and I didn't realize that they're already 5 back. Yeah, they're cooked. It's over.
Also, did you see what Alec Thomas said? He was on 670 The Score, which is the Cubs flagship and the leading sports station in Chicago. Alec Thomas, his father was the strength and conditioning coach for the White Sox.
Yeah,
growing up. Alec Thomas said something about the White Sox, and I'm pulling it up right now, to the tune of, I was told they were not going to draft family. So the White Sox weren't even an option. They didn't even look at him because they weren't going to draft family.
Well, that stinks because you missed out on a pretty good baseball player there in Alec Thomas. That's funny because most organizations kind of go the other way. You see a lot of those like legacy picks and stuff like that. The Detroit Tigers, when we were seniors, Maglio Ordonez's son was our year, played in South Florida, hit 150 in high school, and then still got drafted to the Detroit Tigers, signed and played and everything, and then was released after a year and a half. Like there's some teams that legitimately are all in on fantasy or on family. And that's pretty interesting. Especially because of Jerry Reinsdorf's desire to, make right with Tony La Russa and just kind of like the family kind of vibe he likes to try to give. And then guess you don't draft good players.
Here we go. This from Adam Studzinski on Twitter, who is producing Inside the Clubhouse on Saturday morning, which is what Alec Thomas joined. Alex said the Sox told his dad they were done taking family members as draft picks. Quote, I knew they weren't going to take me in any spot. That's incredible.
So he falls to like the third round.
Their second round. I think he was a second round pick of Arizona. He was first round talent, was he not? Like he was going to go to TCU to play football and baseball. He was a phenomenal football player at Mount Carmel in the Chicagoland area. He was a first round talent that fell to the second. And if the White Sox took him in the first round, everybody would be jumping for joy. But apparently they have this process where they can't do it. Alec Thomas is going to have a teammate, an outfield compatriot very soon. A top 3 prospect in
Yes.
baseball, according to Aram Leighton.
Yeah. And now it's interesting because I think we were going to peg him a little bit higher than everybody else. He's already a guy that's pegged really, really high. But as I've been doing like just the dive and where exactly are we going to peg Carroll, I'm expecting to have him a little bit higher than where I think the industry has him. But here he is before we pump the list out in the next week or so. He's going to go off in his big league debut. Corbin Carroll is just going to go nuts. And then it's going to look like we were being reactionary, but it is what it is. Because I'm expecting him to hit the ground running. I really am. And this guy is really freaking good. I really thought that some of the impact that we've seen from Corbin Carroll had to do with the environment. And that was a big dive that I went into, Jack, was because you talk about how, AAA out West, ball flies. Ball absolutely flies. So we're talking about a guy that's a speedster with a plus hit tool. To see him hit what is now 24 home runs this season, it's like, okay, is that going to translate? Well, I actually think it is, man. This guy's exit velos are really, really high for someone that's 5'9", 170. His 90th percentile exit velo is, right up there with a lot of other, borderline plus power guys. So you have a true center fielder, lefty, 22 years old, sprays the ball all over, absolutely flies, hits for average and hits for power that I think is pretty legitimate, and walks. What's the hole that you can poke in this guy's game?
I don't think there is one, which is the crazy thing about it. And I have gone and tried to dive, obviously not as deep as you, but I have, when you started raving about Corbin Carroll to the point that you do, I was just like, okay, I got to really understand this, because I really understand where the Ellie De La Cruz stuff is coming from. I really understand where the Gunnar Henderson stuff is coming from. I didn't necessarily it didn't click for me to right away where the Corbin Carroll stuff was coming from, because I was like, okay, it's not like he's got a physique gifted from God. He looks like a typical.
He looks a lot like Alec Thomas. What separates him from Alec Thomas, I think, is the very interesting conversation in itself. Because Alec Thomas is a really, really freaking good baseball player who's going to be very solid for a long time. But Corbin Carroll, I think, is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, because he's got more pop and he's like a smoother defensive center fielder. That's what I saw personally.
Yeah, and that's the craziest part. And then on top of that, you have a guy that, you talk about the pop first. Let's start there. He's popped in 111 mile per hour exit velo this year. That's something that I don't think Alec Thomas has sniffed. He's also had a home run 481
That's not environment adjusted.
No. Home run 481 feet. That might be environment adjusted. That might be,
yeah.
Okay. 440, 450. Holy crap. This guy's got major power, hits lefties well as well. And uses the whole field ridiculously impressively. People are going to fall in love with Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, the way that you should be viewing that league that Corbin Carroll came up in, he started the year in AA with Amarillo. Amarillo is northern Texas. It is, you can comp it to Coors Field. So those distances are comp to Coors Field. So breaking news, everybody, if you hit 481 in Amarillo, it's still going north of 430 feet everywhere else.
Yes.
And then AAA Reno, it's not as moon-like, but it's still very thin air. But guess what? Chase Field's got pretty thin air too.
Yeah.
The ball flies at Chase Field, whether the roof is closed or not. So I'm not worried about the power dissipating. What I was stunned about was how often he was walking. Yeah. This guy, is he actually what are his take numbers like? How many pitches does he actually swing at?
Yeah, he doesn't swing at all. It's pretty impressive. 36% swing rate this season.
Oh my God.
He doesn't chase, a chase rate of 19%.
That's so low.
He really is patient. And so the thing that stood out to me the most with Corbin Carroll is when I first did the dive on him, it was during the pandemic, and I only had limited ABs to look at. And it was when he was younger against much older competition, kind of on the backfields at spots too. And what amazed me was if he took a bad swing and a pitcher doubled up on it, he almost never chased again. If he fouled a ball off, you could see him just calculating. And the next pitch, he doesn't miss it again. He makes adjustments in his at-bat that are really impressive. And he also just knows himself so well. That's a guy that I think is just going to be pretty impervious to like prolonged slumps. I think he's going to be pretty comfortable being able to just maximize what he has because he seems to know himself so well. And for a guy that fast to have a 15% walk rate, I mean, no one wants to put him on base. Trust me, nobody wants to put him on base, but he doesn't chase. He spoils tough pitches, and he's going to force his way on base one way or another.
So you said a 19% chase rate?
Yeah.
That would be the best in baseball right now. So Juan Soto is chasing 20.6% of the time. I've got Muncy at 21%. Bregman and Kwan right around 22%. And then Trent Grisham somehow doesn't chase too.
Well, then what does he do?
I don't know. I have no idea. I guess he just takes strikes.
But yeah, 19% chase rate.
Now, granted, the takes are a lot easier in minor league baseball. Sure. Like the misses are more drastic. But if that ticks up to 25%, he'll still be, that's still top 20 in baseball.
He's in really good shape if that ticks up to 25% even too. So, it's funny because I look at guys like Michael Harris and he swings at everything. And I'm like, if Michael Harris tones it down a little bit, because there's some similarities with Corbin Carroll and Michael Harris, to be honest. And if Michael Harris gets to a point where Carroll is with his approach, I think he could be maybe even crazier, which is a lot to say. But again, that shows you how advanced Carroll is in knowing, just knowing the strike zone, knowing what he needs to do, and just being a smart hitter all around.
Yeah. Hey, what did you make of Garrett Mitchell coming up for the Brewers?
It was pretty random.
It was pretty random. I texted you Garrett Mitchell ? And you were like, yeah, heating up, figuring it out. And then you texted me 2 hours later. He was like, and you said, oh shit, I didn't see that he was actually up. Garrett Mitchell so far this year, 44 games in Biloxi. He was dealing with injury for the bulk of the early part of the season. 44 games in Biloxi. He was OPSing 781, slashing 277, 353, 428, 4 homers, 25 driven in, 7 bags in 44 games. He gets the bump to Nashville. He's good for 20 games, 7 extra base hits, 9 RBIs, slashing 343, 435, 466, 901 OPS. He got the bump before Sal Frelick, before Esterio Ruiz. He was going to get the bump before Weimer, but before those two, that felt very odd.
It seems like they want a little bit more impact, right? And it's funny because, Frelick's been phenomenal. We talked about him and how he's just been able to light up AAA. And Mitchell's been doing a lot of the same since joining him in AAA. So, it's weird for sure because this was somebody that was okay, as you mentioned, in AA and then has had a nice stretch in triple. But have we really seen enough to say, okay, this guy's big league ready? I think for the Brewers, they want to give it a go. They realize where they're at in this season. Maybe he can, add a little bit that this team doesn't have right now as an athletic center fielder. But man, I was very surprised. And I think it shows you how much they feel like they need the power there right now. Because I think Frelick is more big league ready, obviously. But Mitchell brings, more tools to the table, 6'3", 220 pounds, has some big power potential that he's continuing to still figure out how to tap into. But I guess he just showed enough in those. How many games was it in triple? 44?
20 for Garrett Mitchell, 44 in Biloxi, 20 in Nashville.
Triple. So what I will tell you though is he did not whiff at all in triple. Zone contact at like 88%, 87%, which is right there with Sal Frelick, and then also way more impact and power potential. But again, it is pretty shocking, and that was one of the more surprising promotions I can remember in a while.
One more thing that I want to mention here. Sal Frelick was slugging better than Garrett Mitchell at every stop. Looking at slugging percentage in Biloxi, Frelick had a higher slugging percentage than Garrett Mitchell. He was slugging at a higher clip than Garrett Mitchell in 22 games in Nashville compared to Garrett's 20. So I understand that they're looking for impact, and you obviously look at Garrett Mitchell's physique and you look at Sal Frelick's physique and you look at the swing profile and you say, okay, like one of them is going to give us way more power than the other. But that wasn't necessarily the case when they got on the field. And Sal was 7 homers through 90-ish games so far this year. Mitchell 4 homers through 70 games or 5 homers through 70 games.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah. I mean, The only other idea that I can kind of conjure up here is they don't regard him as highly, which sounds counterintuitive, but it's like he has the boom potential that all of our other top prospects have, but we don't want to kind of stifle the development of our top guys. So let's bring up Garrett Mitchell and see what he can do.
He slid down the totem pole, did he not? Garrett Mitchell is like noticeably behind Frelick and Weimer now.
Yes, and I think, and of course also Choriel. So
yeah,
and obviously Choriel. He's not near big league ready, but going off of just kind of that thought process here, maybe that was kind of what they were feeling like was, hey, we don't want to stifle the development of, Weimer was slumping bad, but now has homered like 4 times in his last 4 games. Frelick has turned into, one of the crown jewels of the system. Maybe they said, hey, Mitchell is showing signs of being ready and he's not quite on the level of those other guys. Let's just see if he sinks or swims. We'd rather take the risk with him than one of our more blue chip prospects. That's possible. It's a really surprising decision. The Brewers have been weird all year. We gave them a little bit of shit for, Josh Hader, who now has a 6.4 ERA on the season. So, it was a weird decision to trade Hader, but it's hard to really bash that one at this point too. So we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah. You want to talk Hader for a minute?
Yeah, he stinks.
He stinks, dude. He stinks. I think the ERA with the Padres is at 25 now. I'm pulling up his numbers with San Diego so far this year, but it was 6 runs, all earned. He got 1 out yesterday. Hader with the Padres, 4 2/3 innings, 12 hits, 12 runs, all earned, 8 strikeouts, 7 walks. That is
unusable.
It's a whip over 4. It's unusable. It's a great word.
Because that's what I'm thinking right now is like, you go.
What are we doing?
You go get this guy to be your closer, and he's obviously been. We don't need to tell anybody how good he's been for the last several years.
Been really good.
He's been really, really good. I look at Craig Kimbrell, like I feel like I could still throw that dude in the 7th or whatever. I think I could hide Craig Kimbrell in certain spots. Josh Hader, I don't think I could put him in any spot at this point. Like Josh Hader is fully broken down. I don't know what is going on necessarily, because what's interesting is the fastball velo is actually up, which is bizarre. Or at least, I would say almost across the board, his arsenal is either the same or up velocity wise. He like everything looks fine data wise. Obviously, the command has not been good, and the whiff rate on the fastball is down. So I don't know if he's just missing middle as well as just missing all over the zone, or if his fastball is just flattened out. It's really weird to see him go this dramatically in the opposite direction, because it's not just walks, like he's getting hit hard too. And I'm just not used to ever seeing this guy get hit like this.
So why am I on pitcher list right now? And I'm seeing that his fastball is a sinker profile this year, and a 4-seamer profile before that.
What does it give a 4-seam profile before? Because on Savant, it's always sinker.
It's always sinker. So last year, pitcher list has 0% sinker, 66% 4-seamer.
Interesting. I wonder if there was a change in shape a little bit.
Is my go-to flawed? Don't tell me. I love pitcher list.
No, pitcher list is great. There's all like you have TrackMan, you have Rapsodo, and they all kind of label the pitches differently. I think that might be telling in itself, though, that the movement profile has changed a little bit. I will say that the spin rate on the sinker is down about 60 to 65 RPMs from last year, and over 100 from 2 years prior. So, I mean, how
about the results too? Opponents last year hit 102 against his sinker / 4-seam fastball. This year against his sinker / 4-seam fastball, opponents are hitting 267.
Yeah,
that's drastic. Did they figure out Hader's invisible sinker?
I don't know. And also my other source that I'm looking at has the fastball sinker adjustment as well. So fastball label last year, sinker label this year. So there's definitely something different with the shape. And whatever that is has not helped him. And on top of that, I think hitters have figured something out a little bit. And then I think on top of that, his command stinks this year.
And his
So it seems
confidence
like
is in the
the
gutter.
perfect storm for Josh Hader.
Yes. And his confidence has to be absolutely shot.
Which I feel for him. Absolutely.
I feel for him in that.
It stinks watching guys that you just know are battling themselves. That's the worst part about baseball, honestly.
And that's what was so hard watching Kimbrel after his Atlanta days, right? Before he resurfaced with the Cubs last year. It was so bad. And like Papelbon, I didn't feel bad because Papelbon was just kind of like a shithead the entire time. But Kimbrel, like, I felt really bad for Craig Kimbrel. Hader obviously has his shithead tendencies on Twitter earlier, but
yeah, that shit stunk. But since then has probably done everything he can to clear the air and be a good guy. And obviously, all of his teammates were not happy in Milwaukee of all backgrounds. So I think Hader's done his best to fix that. So I watch him now, though, man, and I'm like, you can just see a guy that's internally just going through it. And I mean, the Padres now, what do? You don't like. I had a bunch of people replying to me after because the Padres went to him in a spot. I mean, Melvin went to him in a spot that I remember was just you pulled Yu Darvish in like the 9th when he was shoving. Went to Hader. Hader blew up. He's blown up a few times since then. And I was like, man, that's going to be discussed in San Diego media. Most people agreed with that, but I had a few people that were just like, I mean, you went out and got the best closer. Like, you got to use the best closer. I get that, but like, we've got to call a spade now, and you can't be pretending that this guy's the best closer. I think the Padres have realized that, but now, where are you using this guy? Do you continue to roll him out in cushy situations and hope it clicks? Is he throwing bullpens on the side? Do you send him to triple? I wouldn't even rule.
No shot. You can't do that. That is optics suicide if you send Josh Hader to El Paso.
It is. It is optics suicide. Was he throwing sim games and unavailable now? Like, it's that bad. Like, it's that freaking bad. Right now, the answer is cushy outings, obviously. Give him like 6th inning of a 10-run game. But what happens if he stinks there?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a tough spot to be.
It's really hard. And I just remember preseason, we're talking about how volatile the top reliever list is. Like, that is changing multiple times a year. But we're like, oh, yeah, Hader's at the top.
Hader's the one is the exception to the volatility.
Nobody's immune.
Yeah.
Nobody's immune.
Nobody is. And that just shows you why maybe you don't give up a haul for a closer ever.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Last thing. Just a quick note here. The Mariners are 11.5 back of the Astros. The Orioles are 10.5 back of the Yankees. The Yankees are just 7.5 ahead of Tampa, 9 ahead of Toronto, 10.5 ahead of Baltimore. Are you slamming the panic button in New York right now, or what? Losing 2 or 3 to Oakland?
Yeah, that one's bad. I think I saw Oakland's Twitter account troll the Yankees too. Like, good. Safe travels home. Yeah, I think losing 2 out of 3 to Oakland is fairly concerning. Especially when the Marlins went there the series before and took 2 out of 3 like pretty comfortably. Yeah. It's not great. I wouldn't say I'm slamming the panic button necessarily. Like, they're still 5-5 in their last 10. Judge is back. Cole had a great outing out there. There's silver linings through this team. They're gonna get Harrison Bader back, which I actually think is going to be huge for them. If Harrison Bader gives them a 100 WRC plus with his defense in center field, they are over the moon. Because Aaron Hicks, I'm not pulling it up right now, I would assume has been in the 50s WRC plus wise, and defense is supposed to be his forte. He's been horrible out there. And again, another dude I really feel for. A guy is really messed up when his forte, which is defense and center, is taking a hit as well. And these guys misplaying fly balls. Like, he is in his head. And we know that the compounding effect that continuous boos can have from your own fan base, and why that doesn't.
But it's New York.
Yeah, it's New York. Yeah, he's just not built for New York. No, the boos compound. They don't help. I know Yankees fans aren't going to change, and it's not just Yankees fans. Phillies fans do it, and then you can point to Bowman and be like, "Oh, he figured it out." That's just a guy that figured it out. And he also had to get like the whole turnaround and have him cheered for him, and it actually ended up working. I really want to emphasize how boos don't work. Hicks is another example, but anyway, back on the point. Bader will be a huge upgrade in a lot of ways, and I think gives them something they really need. And also being able to move Judge from center, which again, just testament to that guy. Not only putting up the best offensive season that we've seen in a while, also manning center field for the New York Yankees and manning it well. This guy is just such a freak. But Bader, I think, is going to be a big injection of life, and the bullpen's getting, kind of coming back together a little bit as well.
Yeah, say all you want about Aaron Judge. He's still a point behind Paul Goldschmidt in the WRC Plus department. Yeah. All right. Real quick, very last thing. Sandy Alcantara single-handedly beat the LA Dodgers on Saturday. A complete game, 10 punch-outs, 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks. That was the most fun you've had watching a Marlins game since when?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I would
Fernandez start.
I don't know. It's up there. It's up there. I couldn't even tell you, honestly. Maybe since like the faux playoff run, like there was aspects of that which were just enjoyable because I haven't watched the Marlins be competitive. What was amazing about that Sandy start, it really got me excited was he got knocked around by them the previous start. The Dodgers boat raced him. Like he got beat up, and he took a big hit in his Cy Young candidacy.
Yeah,
he also
bumped his ERA.
Yeah, it was the worst start of the season for him, and he bounces right back and shoves against that same team at home, complete game, wins the ball game. And not only was that just a testament to the mentality that Sandy Alcantara has on the mound, which is one that it's just been really amazing to kind of see up close in the few games I've been able to cover this year and interview him and just ask him questions after he shoves. But also just him recapturing the Cy Young Award to me. Like that was basically him saying this award's mine. It's over.
It's mine.
And I really think it's going to be hard for him to relinquish it after that. Like the schedule gets easier. He gives himself another complete game, which is more than any other team in baseball. Like he just I said it, like he just put his flag down and said, this award is mine. And I think it's pretty much sealed for him now at this point.
As eloquently as I can possibly put it, that was a fuck all of you start.
Yeah. Like, we were talking about that guy with 130 innings with the Dodgers. That's going to take the award from me. I love Tony Gonsolin, but like, I think that was him just saying like
the middle finger to absolutely everybody.
Yeah, like come on, are we really talking about somebody else winning this thing? Just goes out there and absolutely shoves. That was a lot of fun. I did also want to really quickly mention the Mickey Mantle card sale. I know you got to jump, but $12.6 million for a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle, and I want to mention that real quick because baseball cards in some ways are becoming, I mean, we've known this, but I think this is just even to another degree because the previous record was 7 point something million.
It was a Honus Wagner.
It was a Honus Wagner card.
And then it was Diego Maradona's Hand of God jersey that was like a little north of 8 million. So this,
8 or 9
by $4 million shattered the record for sports memorabilia ever sold at auction.
And I think that really shows you where we're going here, that these are like Picasso's, Mona Lisa's, and that's what this card is really known as, because the 1952 Topps Mantle, it's not even his rookie. It's his second year card, but it's the first year of 1952 Topps, which was the first set for Topps, but also the first set to have stats on the back and bios on the back and like a clean cut shot, like a portrait shot of the players. And then of course,
it's a beautiful card.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's art. And Mickey Mantle was, obviously the catalyst of what is considered the most important post-war baseball card set. And what's funny is that those cards were initially made to help sell gum. At that point, Topps was focused on selling gum. So they're like, let's throw in pictures of players and more people will want to buy gum. It was such a hit that they produced more. And when they produced more, it transitioned into football season. And it was actually kind of a flop when they produced more of the 52 Topps cards. So there was a warehouse sitting with thousands and thousands of 52 Topps cards, the same ones that just sold, for $12 million.
Yeah.
And the craziest part was they didn't know what to do with it. So their solution was, let's just dump all of the excess cards in the Hudson. So they dumped thousands and thousands of cars into the Hudson. I won't talk about how unenvironmentally friendly that is, but of course, no one knew anything 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah, they were concerned about their carbon footprint in the 50s. Yeah.
Of course. But beyond that, I mean, they pumped now like millions and millions. I probably assume hundreds of millions of dollars in paper just shoved into the Hudson River, which also is now created some of the scarcity around the card as well, because it's not overproduced like a lot of the other ones. All of the overproduction was just shoved straight into the water. So really cool story behind this card. It's considered kind of like the standard setter for baseball cards moving forward, while we have, the stats and the bios and everything on the back the way that they are, on top of just the really cool portrait shots. And $12 million for a card, man. For the finest known example was the quote of it. And I wrote a little bit more on it at justbaseball.com, but like, holy crap, that's a lot of money for a baseball card.
Way cooler to invest in Mickey Mantle than a monkey with laser beams shooting out of its eyes, I think.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Absolutely.
All righty. That's it for us. Peter and I are here to talk about the road ahead for contenders tomorrow. Every link you need is in the episode description, and we'll talk then.